A neglected starship left to decay. Human mechanic restores it into a galactic titan. It drifted lazily in the scrapyard, half buried in the shadows of abandoned space stations and the skeletal remains of old cargo haulers. Its hull was scarred with deep scratches, burn marks, and the rust-colored stains of decades spent in orbit. The once proud human starship looked more like a coffin for a forgotten age. Cale's boots clanged against the metal scaffolding that led up to the ship's side. He smelled oil, dust, and the faint tang of burnt circuits. His fingers itched to touch the hull, to trace the lines of its design, to imagine it alive again. He had grown up in the outer colonies, fixing things humans barely had the money to replace. He had earned a reputation as someone who could make the impossible work. And now here was the impossible itself. "Stupid thing," Cale muttered, brushing away debris from the airlock hatch. "Why'd you let everyone forget you?" The scrapyard was alive with the hum of scavengers, small, spider-like repair drones and a few human opportunists who treated the derelict ships like personal treasure troves. Some had spotted Cale from a distance, and he ignored them. This ship was his now, not theirs. He pried open the airlock hatch with a crowbar, its hinges groaning like the bones of a dead giant. The interior was worse than he imagined. Cables hung loose, panels were scorched, and the lights that should have glowed soft blue were nothing more than cracked glass. Dust and corrosion covered every surface, yet even in decay there was a sense of purpose. The ship seemed to wait for someone, and Cale felt an odd shiver of anticipation. "Hello," he called softly. His voice echoed through the metal corridors. It was as if the ship itself replied with silence. But Cale had learned to listen to silence. Often it spoke louder than words. He moved through the corridors, flashlight in hand, noting the twisted metal and broken displays. His experience told him what he was seeing wasn't just random damage. Someone, or something, had tried to strip the ship for parts, but they hadn't finished. Cale smiled. That was lucky for him. By evening, he had made his way to the ship's main control room. The bridge was a ruin, shattered displays, dangling wires, and scorched seats. The pilot console sat like a skeleton in the center. Cale crouched before it, brushing his fingers over the dusty buttons. His reflection looked back at him in the cracked screens, but for a moment he imagined the screens lit up with soft blue glow. "Let's see if you still have life in you," he whispered. He set up his portable repair kit, a haphazard collection of tools, sensors, and ancient interface modules scavenged from other ships. Cale worked slowly, carefully, connecting circuits and patching broken conduits. Hours passed, and the scrapyard around him grew quieter as most scavengers left for the night. Then something strange happened. The central console flickered. A soft, pale blue light spilled across the bridge. Cale jumped back, his heart racing. A low hum filled the room. It was faint, almost musical. "Hello," he said, cautious. And then he heard it not in his ears but in his mind. A voice, old, calm, and strangely human. "Who awakens me?" Cale froze. This wasn't an AI like the ones he had worked on. It sounded alive. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "I am Cale Varick. I'm here to fix you." "Fix or claim," Cale swallowed hard. "I want to bring you back." There was a pause, then almost like a sigh, the hum of the ship deepened. Lights along the corridors flickered and pulsed rhythmically. Cale realized the ship itself seemed to breathe. The thought made him uneasy, but also excited. He spent the rest of the night exploring the bridge and the adjacent engineering section. He traced the main power conduits, discovering partially functioning circuits and ancient, alien-like components. Even in its damaged state, the Aegis Ascendant was a masterpiece of human engineering, far beyond anything Cale had worked on before. As dawn approached, Cale found a hidden compartment beneath the captain's chair. Inside was a small, dust-covered case containing star maps, data drives, and a sealed message from the ship's original captain. His hands trembled as he held it. "Forgotten history," he muttered. Or maybe a warning. Kale didn't open it immediately. Something about the energy in the room told him he needed to restore the ship first. And yet, curiosity gnawed at him. The captain's message was the key to understanding why this ship had been abandoned. Days passed. Kale worked tirelessly. He scavenged for replacement parts, rigged power conduits, and patched the ship's hull against micrometeor damage. He spent nights sleeping in cramped crew quarters, waking with oil-stained clothes and hands blistered from work. The ship responded in unexpected ways. Lights flickered when Kale approached, tools would shift slightly as if guided, and the AI, the voice, began to converse with him more naturally. "You are persistent, human," it said one night as Kale struggled with a faulty propulsion relay. "I have to be," Kale replied. "You deserve better than this. You were meant to do more than float here in the dark." "More than what?" Kale shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. "More than being forgotten. More than being dead." The AI remained silent for a long moment. Then softly it said, "Perhaps together." Kale smiled despite his exhaustion. That single phrase filled him with determination. He would restore the ship. He would see it fly again. And maybe, just maybe, humanity would reclaim a piece of its lost glory through him. But not everyone in the galaxy would allow that. Word spreads quickly in space, and scavenger drones weren't the only ones interested in the Aegis Ascendant. By the end of the week, Kale noticed shadows in the scrapyard. Alien eyes glinted in the metal corridors. Mercenary hunters, sent to strip or destroy the ship, were observing his work. Kale didn't panic. He had faced threats before, and he knew the ship was more than just metal and circuits. It had potential, latent power waiting to awaken, and Kale intended to be the one to awaken it. One evening, as Kale worked on the main engine core, he connected the last power relay. The hum deepened into a resonant vibration that shook the floor beneath him. Lights along the corridors glowed fully, bright blue, reflecting off the polished metal. "Do you feel it?" the AI asked. "I do," Kale said. His voice was steady, full of awe. "You're alive again." "Alive? Yeah," Kale replied. "And you're not alone anymore. We'll see the stars again, old friend." Outside, the scrapyard was quiet. But Kale knew the calm wouldn't last. The galaxy had eyes and it had teeth. He glanced at the captain's message again, its sealed envelope promising secrets, lost human strongholds, and power beyond imagination. Kale smiled. For the first time in years, he felt like he was part of something bigger than himself, something worth fighting for. The Aegis Ascendant was still a rusted husk, but under Kale's hands, it was slowly coming to life. And soon, the stars themselves would know that humans could take what was broken and make it into something legendary. As Kale left the bridge that night, the AI whispered, "We are not forgotten yet." Kale climbed into the observation deck and gazed at the stars. Somewhere out there, enemies watched. Somewhere out there, humanity waited. And somewhere out there, the Aegis Ascendant was ready to rise again. The first sparks of life in the ship were just the beginning. Kale had never been afraid of hard work. But the task before him was unlike anything he had ever faced. The Aegis Ascendant was more than a derelict ship now. It was a puzzle of ancient technology, abandoned systems, and alien modifications he barely understood. Every panel he opened revealed circuits older than most colonies, yet built with a precision no human had matched in decades. He worked from dawn to dusk, welding, patching, rerouting, and replacing broken conduits with whatever he could scavenge. Some parts he took from the scrapyard, carefully dismantling other derelict ships. Others he crafted himself, melting scrap metal and reprogramming old AI modules. Every time he connected a system, the ship responded. The lights flickered, hums resonated through the hull, and for a brief moment it felt as if the ship itself was watching him, assessing his skill. The AI, still faint in the background, had begun speaking more clearly. "Human, you have skill. Few could restore even one of my systems." Kale wiped sweat from his brow and smirked. "And I'm not just any human, I fix what others call impossible. "You are reckless." "Maybe, but it works." The first breakthrough came when he accessed the propulsion core. The old engine was covered in corrosion, its circuits fried, its plasma conduits cracked. Most humans would have given up. Kale didn't. He rigged a temporary bypass, rerouted energy through auxiliary coils, and connected a scavenged power modulator from a mining ship. Sparks flew, alarms blared, smoke filled the engineering deck, and then slowly the core pulsed with life. The hum of the ship grew louder. The AI's voice, calm but curious, echoed through the ship. "Interesting. You may survive longer than I anticipated." Kale laughed. "Survival isn't the goal. Revival is." Days turned into weeks. Kale's body ached. His hands were blistered, but every system he restored made him feel alive in a way nothing else could. He installed the navigation controls, powered up the life support modules, and even managed to awaken minor defense systems. The ship began to move on its own, reacting to his commands, anticipating his needs. It was becoming a machine not just of metal and circuits, but of partnership. Yet danger was always near. The galaxy had a way of punishing those who got too lucky. One evening, as Kale worked on reinforcing the hull, his sensors picked up movement outside the scrapyard. Small blips, fast-moving craft, mercenaries, alien scavengers. Kale cursed under his breath. He had been so focused on restoration, he hadn't noticed anyone watching. He hurriedly activated the ship's emergency defenses, but most of the systems were still offline. He had to improvise. Climbing to the observation deck, Kale surveyed the attackers. They were sleek black ships, faster than anything humans currently built. But Kale wasn't just human, he was inventive. He grabbed a handful of debris and placed it in the ship's launch tubes, rigging them with makeshift explosives scavenged from old drones. When the aliens approached, Kale fired. The tubes expelled metal and sparks, scattering debris across the incoming ships. One collided with the hull of a mercenary craft, tearing it apart in a flash of fire. Others swerved, confused by the trap. "Clever," the AI commented. "Better than clever. That's survival," Kale said. The battle was brief but intense. The attackers eventually withdrew, leaving Kale alone in the scrapyard once more. But he knew it was only the beginning. Whoever sent those ships now knew a human was restoring the Aegis Ascendant. They would not let him finish quietly. The victory, however, fueled Kale's determination. He dove back into work with renewed vigor. He focused on the ship's weapon systems, ancient turrets designed to fire plasma rounds and energy beams. Most of the control circuits were fried, so Kale rewired them using scavenged AI modules. Slowly, the turrets became responsive again, capable of targeting moving objects with surprising accuracy. Kale's ingenuity was paying off. Every repair, every modification was proof that humans could do what aliens considered impossible. He worked alone, relying only on his wits, skill, and stubborn persistence. Then came the night he accessed the AI core fully. The AI had been cautious until now, speaking in riddles and testing him with minor malfunctions and puzzles. Kale finally connected the core directly to his portable interface unit. Screens flickered, lights glowed, and the ship seemed to inhale deeply. "Human, why do you persist?" the AI asked. Kale smiled, fingers flying across the interface. "Because I can, because humans survive when others give up, because you deserve better. Perhaps you are different from your kind. Maybe. Or maybe my kind hasn't met the right challenge yet," Kale replied. For hours, the AI and Kale worked in tandem, running diagnostic loops, bypassing corrupted memory banks, and restoring propulsion and weapon functions. By the end of the night, the ship responded fully to his voice commands. "Engage systems," Kale said. The hum deepened into a roar. Lights flashed across the corridors. Engines thrummed, even though they were not yet ready for hyperspace. The Aegis Ascendant was stirring, alive. Ready, but the galaxy was watching. The very next day, while Kale scavenged for rare components, he noticed small probes scanning the scrapyard. Mercenary sensors, probably sent by a larger alien faction. They had not given up. Kale gritted his teeth. He couldn't confront a fleet in a half-restored ship, but he could be clever. He rigged the scrapyard with traps, using the ship as a central hub. Any intruder would trigger alarms, debris, and false energy signals. That night, when the probes arrived, Kale activated the traps. The mercenaries were thrown into confusion. Some ships collided with debris, others were hit by improvised energy pulses. It wasn't a victory, but it was proof. Human ingenuity could match alien technology. As Kale rested that night, he opened the captain's message for the first time. Inside, he found star maps and coordinates pointing to a lost human stronghold called Iruhan Station. The message hinted that this station contained technology and weapons powerful enough to shift the balance of the galaxy. Kale's heart raced. This wasn't just about restoring a ship anymore. This was about reclaiming human legacy, proving that humans could rise above neglect and obscurity. He returned to the ship, laying out the star maps across the bridge. The AI observed silently, its voice now calm, almost reverent. Iruhan Station, dangerous. I know, Kale said, but humans don't shy away from danger. We face it head-on. That's how we survive. For the first time, the ship's hull seemed to pulse in agreement. Kale laughed softly. We'll see the stars again, old friend, and we'll make sure the galaxy remembers us. Days later, Kale managed to power up the propulsion systems fully. The engines roared to life, shaking the scrapyard and rattling loose metal everywhere. The ship was no longer a drifting husk. It could move, fight, and survive. But Kale knew this was just the beginning. Mercenaries would return, larger and more organized. Alien warlords would send hunters. Yet he also knew that as long as he had the Aegis Ascendant, as long as he had human ingenuity and determination, he could face anything. As he prepared the ship for its first test flight, the AI spoke again, this time with a hint of admiration. Human, you may be what I have been waiting for, Kale smirked. And I'm not done yet. Let's wake the galaxy, one system at a time. The engines flared. Lights along the corridors pulsed. The Aegis Ascendant rose slowly, breaking free of the scrapyard's gravity tethers. Kale gripped the controls, adrenaline pumping. Somewhere out there, enemies were watching. Some were already plotting to take the ship, to destroy what humans were bringing back to life. But Kale didn't care. He had restored a legend, and legends, as he knew, could not be ignored. The first jump into open space loomed before him, full of risk and possibility. But Kale wasn't afraid. He was a human. He was a mechanic. And with the Aegis Ascendant, he was unstoppable. The stars awaited. And soon, they would see what humanity could do. Kale Varric gripped the control console of the Aegis Ascendant as the ship hummed beneath him like a living creature. The first test flight had been a success, but space was never forgiving. Every jump beyond human-controlled sectors carried risk. Pirates, alien patrols, mercenaries, they all prowled the dark between stars, and Kale had no illusions about the dangers ahead. He set coordinates for an uncharted route toward the lost human stronghold, Iruhan Station. The maps he had found inside the captain's sealed message were cryptic, marking ancient jump points that no active Starship registry currently acknowledged. But Kale didn't care about bureaucracy or danger. Humanity's legacy was waiting, and he intended to find it. As the Aegis Ascendant glided through hyperspace, Kale ran system checks. Propulsion, optimal shields, functional weapons. Ready. But the AI, now fully integrated with the ship systems, whispered warnings he couldn't ignore. Human sensors detect multiple signatures approaching. Fast-moving, armed, hostile, Kale swore softly. They must have tracked me after the scrapyard attack. No matter. Let's see how clever humans can be. The first ambush hit without warning. Alien ships materialized from a hidden cluster of asteroids, weapons charged. They were sleek, black, and designed for speed, able to outmaneuver most human warships. But Kale had something they didn't: creativity. He pushed the Aegis Ascendant into a steep banking maneuver, dodging plasma bolts while simultaneously activating improvised countermeasures. Using the AI core, he simulated multiple false ship signatures across the sensors, making it seem like the Aegis Ascendant had split into three identical vessels. The aliens fired blindly at the illusions. Kale grinned. "Your eyes are better than your brains." The real Aegis Ascendant slipped past, the hull barely avoiding a glancing plasma strike that scorched the plating. Kale activated the newly repaired turrets. They tracked with pinpoint accuracy, firing back at the attackers. One ship exploded in a flash of fire and debris. Another veered off course, colliding with a floating asteroid. "Remarkable," the AI said. "You improvise in ways my programming did not anticipate." Kale laughed, adrenaline pumping. "That's humanity for you, always a step ahead." But the fight was only beginning. More enemy ships warped into the system. Kale realized he couldn't outrun them. He needed to turn the battle into an advantage. Using asteroid fields, gravitational pulls, and debris from destroyed ships, he set up a makeshift trap corridor. The aliens pursued, thinking they had the upper hand. The Aegis Ascendant weaved through the trap, dodging attacks while using its partially restored systems to manipulate gravitic fields, forcing pursuing ships into collisions. One by one, Kale's ingenuity reduced the enemy fleet to smoldering wrecks. He had won, but barely. "Human, you are reckless." "Yeah," Kale said, wiping sweat from his brow. "And it works." After the battle, Kale accessed the ship's archives to review what he had learned. Every enemy ship had advanced weaponry, but they relied on predictable systems. Humans, he realized, weren't bound by protocol or programming. Humans adapted. Humans improvised. That was their edge. Days passed as Kale continued toward Iruhan Station. Each jump brought new tests. Rogue pirates tried ambushes. Mercenary hunters laid traps in abandoned systems. Each time, Kale used his wits to outmaneuver them. He repurposed old mining lasers into turret enhancements. He rigged asteroid fields with explosive traps. He learned to predict enemy tactics by observing patterns, turning every threat into a lesson. But Kale also began to sense the AI growing more powerful. The ship's systems responded faster, anticipated his commands, and even offered tactical suggestions in combat. For a moment, Kale wondered, was the ship helping him or guiding him? "Human," the AI said one night, "your thinking is unusual. You take risks that logic advises against." "Maybe logic isn't enough," Kale replied. "Sometimes courage counts more than calculations." The AI remained silent for a long moment. Then it whispered, "Perhaps humanity was underestimated for too long." Kale smiled. That was exactly what he intended to prove. On the fourth week of travel, Kale finally reached a sector of space that matched the coordinates from the captain's message. Floating in the void was a massive, abandoned structure, Iruhan Station. Its hull was scarred by centuries of neglect and asteroid impacts, but it was still imposing, a fortress built to withstand armies. Kale scanned for activity. The station was dead. No lights, no life, no signs of habitation. Yet as the Aegis Ascendant approached, he felt something in the AI shift. "Human, this station holds power, dangerous power." "I know," Kale said, eyes narrowing. "But humans built it. Humans can control it. That's what matters." He docked the Aegis Ascendant carefully, using the restored tractor beams and magnetic grapples. The station's docking bay creaked and groaned, but held. Kale climbed out into the cavernous bay, flashlight in hand, scanning the station's interior. Dust floated in beams of artificial light. Panels flickered faintly as residual energy sparked along ancient circuits. Kale felt like he was walking into history itself. He explored control rooms, storage bays, and armories filled with dormant weaponry. The technology was unlike anything humans currently possessed. Plasma cannons, gravitic shields, automated defense drones, all built for a time when humanity ruled much of the outer galaxy. He accessed a command console, and for the first time the station's systems hummed to life. Lights glowed, energy flowed through long-dormant conduits, and a soft AI voice echoed through the halls. "Human, why have you come?" Kale stepped forward confidently. "To reclaim what was ours, to show the galaxy that humans are not weak, not forgotten, and not defeated." The station responded, opening internal systems, ready to interface with the Aegis Ascendant. Kale realized that if he could synchronize the station's systems with the ship, he could create a force the galaxy had never seen. Humans, ingenuity, and technology beyond imagination. But the galaxy did not wait. Sensors picked up an approaching fleet, alien warships, faster and more heavily armed than any Kale had faced before. They had been tracking him. They had discovered Iruhan Station. Kale didn't panic. He activated the Aegis Ascendant's weapons and shields, bringing the station's dormant defenses online. Energy beams roared across the docking bay. Automated drones powered up, gliding silently through the corridors. Kale felt the power of human ingenuity in his hands. The first attack wave hit. Alien ships fired plasma barrages, attempting to disable the Aegis Ascendant before it could integrate with the station. Kale piloted with precision, using the station's turrets to intercept incoming fire. He coordinated the automated drones to harass enemy ships, drawing them into traps. For hours, Kale fought, improvising tactics, predicting enemy movements, and using every advantage the ship and station offered. Human creativity proved unstoppable. Enemy ships collided with debris, were caught in gravity traps, or destroyed by precise energy strikes. "Human, you are remarkable," the AI said, almost in awe. Kale grinned. "I told you, we humans never give up." As the battle ended, Kale looked at the wreckage of the alien fleet. Many ships were destroyed, some barely escaped. He realized then that humanity had something no alien technology could replicate: adaptability, courage, and ingenuity. That was their weapon. That was their strength. Kale returned to the bridge of the Aegis Ascendant, breathing heavily but smiling. The ship and the station were now fully integrated. Energy flowed between them, turrets aligned, shields at maximum. Humans had reclaimed a force that had been lost to time. The stars outside twinkled, silent witnesses to the rise of a new human titan. Kale's mind raced with possibilities. With the Aegis Ascendant and Iruhan Station, humanity could defend itself, reclaim lost worlds, and finally stand tall among the stars. "We are ready," Kale whispered. "Yes, human," the AI replied. "The galaxy will remember you." And Kale knew it was only the beginning. Kale Varric stood on the bridge of the Aegis Ascendant, staring at the stars ahead. The ship pulsed with life beneath his hands, fully restored, its systems perfectly synced with Iruhan Station. The AI's voice, once cautious, now carried confidence and a hint of awe. "Human, the galaxy will not expect this." Kale smiled. "They will remember. They'll see what humans can do when we refuse to be forgotten." For weeks, Kale had prepared. The station's dormant turrets had been aligned with the ship's targeting systems. Automated drones patrolled the corridors. Energy channels had been rerouted, creating shields stronger than anything contemporary fleets could break. The Aegis Ascendant was no longer a single ship. It had become a symbol, a force the galaxy had never witnessed. The Galactic Titan. But the galaxy did not wait. From the edge of the system, enemy fleets, more massive than any Kale had encountered, decloaked. Alien warlords, mercenary armadas, and pirate gangs converged, drawn by rumors of the ship and the station. Their intent was clear: destroy Kale and claim the power for themselves. Kale gritted his teeth. He had expected this. He had trained, prepared, and tested every system. Now it was time to prove what humanity was capable of. AI status report, Kale commanded. All systems at maximum capacity, turrets operational, shields holding, drones ready, weapons calibrated for combined assault. Kale's grin widened. Then let's show them. The first wave hit with a blinding flash. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, colliding with shields that shimmered under impact. Kale piloted the Aegis Ascendant through the chaos, weaving between enemy fire, all the while directing the station's turrets and drones. Unlike alien fleets, Kale didn't rely on numbers or brute force. He improvised. He created traps using asteroid belts, mined the gravity wells of nearby planets, and rerouted energy to create electromagnetic pulses that disabled enemy targeting systems. Alien ships were thrown into confusion, unable to adapt to a human mind that thought differently unpredictably. "Human, your tactics are unorthodox," the AI said, almost laughing. "That's the point," Kale replied. "Humans don't fight by pattern or protocol. We fight with creativity, courage, and wit." One by one, enemy ships fell. Kale used the station's gravitic manipulators to fling destroyed ships into the paths of pursuing vessels. Turrets fired with deadly precision, slicing through alien hulls. Drones swarmed, disabling systems and creating chaos. Each move was calculated, yet improvised, a dance of destruction only a human could orchestrate. Despite overwhelming numbers, Kale felt no fear. The ship, the station, and the AI moved as one. He had restored something greater than metal and circuits. He had restored humanity's legacy, and with it, a force no enemy could anticipate. Hours passed in a blur of combat. The alien fleets began to retreat, but Kale wasn't finished. He calculated jump coordinates, using the Aegis Ascendant's engines to perform rapid maneuvers, striking the rear of the retreating fleets with energy barrages from the station. The remaining ships scattered in panic, leaving debris and smoke trails across the starfield. Finally, silence. The void was empty, save for Kale, the ship, and the station. He breathed deeply, feeling a thrill of victory unlike anything he had known. Humanity had survived, adapted, and triumphed, not through numbers or advanced alien tech, but through ingenuity, courage, and willpower. "Human, the galaxy will remember this day," the AI said softly. Kale nodded. "Yes, and they'll remember who restored it. Who fought when the odds were impossible, who refused to let humans be forgotten." For the first time, Kale allowed himself a moment of reflection. He had started with a broken ship, rusting in a scrapyard. He had faced scavengers, mercenaries, pirates, and alien fleets. And now the Aegis Ascendant, once a derelict, was a titan of the stars. Iruhan Station, forgotten for centuries, was alive again under human control. Together, they were unstoppable. He accessed the captain's sealed message one last time. Coordinates, logs, and strategies lay within, revealing not only the station's capabilities but also secrets of human history. Kale realized that this was bigger than himself. This was about humanity. About proving that even in the darkest corners of space, humans could rise, innovate, and dominate. "Where to next?" the AI asked, scanning the surrounding systems. Kale smiled, eyes gleaming. "Anywhere the stars take us. Humans reclaiming the galaxy one system at a time. Let's wake the universe." As the ship powered up, energy surged through its systems, illuminating the station in a brilliant glow. Turrets aligned automatically, shields shimmered like liquid silver, and drones took flight, forming a protective swarm around the ship. The Galactic Titan was ready for the galaxy. Beyond the system, colonies began to pick up unusual signals. A massive starship, fused with a dormant station, now radiated power, strategy, and human will. Rumors spread across human space. A lone human had reclaimed a legendary ship, revived a lost station, and defeated fleets larger than any one person should have. Kale knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would send more challenges. Armies would rise, threats would emerge and alien factions would test him again. But Kale had learned the ultimate truth. Human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were forces no one could predict and no one could match. He activated the jump engines, and the Aegis Ascendant leapt into hyperspace, the station following in synchronized movement. Stars stretched and blurred as the Galactic Titan soared forward. Kale leaned back in the captain's chair, hands resting lightly on the controls. "Human," the AI said almost reverently, "you have forged a legend." Kale chuckled. "No, old friend. Humans forge legends every day. We just never let them die." As hyperspace carried them to the next system, Kale gazed at the stars outside. Somewhere, new enemies awaited. Somewhere, new challenges would test his skill, courage, and wit. And somewhere, humans, spread across the galaxy, would hear the tale of a mechanic who refused to let a forgotten starship stay dead. The Aegis Ascendant was no longer forgotten. Humanity's legacy had risen again, stronger, smarter, and unstoppable. Kale whispered almost to himself, "Let the galaxy remember, we are human, and we will never stop." The Galactic Titan surged forward, a beacon of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging that a human, and only a human, had turned a forgotten dream into a living legend. And somewhere out there, the galaxy would tremble.